Now, Patel, how would you characterize the culture at Microsoft?
Well, Microsoft culture is one that stresses individual responsibility and accountability of development work and seeks out employees that thrive on the immediacy of generating and providing valuable information. What is interesting is that culture within Microsoft is that of outperforming competitors. From its recruitment and selection process to its relationship with partners and stakeholders, Microsoft has been able to adopt a unique way of remaining competitive. Take, for instance, the selection of new recruits is a very structured process whereby each year young university trained software developers who meet very specific criteria are hired by the Microsoft team. This process proves to be quite costly and time-consuming, and as such, Microsoft has been described as having a develop-centric business culture. In addition to the recruitment process, employees are assigned private or semi-private offices instead of cubicle spaces. This is usually done for each developer or pair of developers to be motivated to innovate. In order to encourage sustainable innovation, Microsoft provides the core IT capabilities that facilitate innovation management. Some of these include unified communications, business intelligence, portfolio and project management, collaboration, ideation, just to name a few. Although there is a clear chain of command within the organization, greater focus is placed on giving employees the autonomy to make decisions when it comes to innovation. For some employees, Microsoft is considered an ideal place to work. The company has won numerous awards for innovation and commitment to diversity, which has most definitely helped strengthen its competitive position. With stakeholders being highly rewarded by their stock options, now and in the past, Microsoft has been able to retain committed investors. They are also known to reward their employees tremendously and provide them with sizable benefits. There are no specific dress codes at Microsoft. Further, employees are encouraged to be very comfortable with ambiguity, as Microsoft is a highly changing technological environment. Many of the companies that use Microsoft products now can instantly change over to one of Microsoft's competitor products. In addition, managers are expected to be prepared for changes in the company's external and internal environments, and they need to be able to know how to adjust to the changes and make the best decisions for the sustainability of the company. Microsoft therefore encourages their managers to be vigilant and to be ever aware of the changes in the market and look for new expansion opportunities.
So how does Microsoft deal with competition, and how does that organizational culture deal with besting competition?
There, a former Microsoft employee shares this quote about Microsoft culture. The Microsoft culture is about creating the newest, latest, greatest things that changes the world, not improving what is already out there and working for customers. Microsoft is considered to have an aggressive culture in that they value competitiveness. An aggressive cultured organization, sales are more volatile. Microsoft executives have often made statements like, "We are going to cut off Netscape's air supply. Everything they are selling, we are going to give away." Another phrase aggressively cultured organizations will use is, "We'll kill our competition." Some of Microsoft's competitors include Adobe, Corel, IBM, Nokia, and Oracle, just to name a few. Even more interesting is that these same competitors are also its partners. Microsoft also focuses on radical changes in order to remain positioned above its competitors. In addition, employees are expected to use Microsoft software within the organization. This is often termed as eating out our dog food. As an innovation culture, Microsoft has historically been run as a product company rather than a sales company. In fact, one executive described the sales force early in Microsoft history as just showing up with a pen and paper to take orders. As such, there is a greater focus and unity of direction within the organization and among its employees.
As we're on the topic of employees, how then does Microsoft harness the creativity of its employees?
Well, its mission statement for 2003 was to enable people and businesses throughout the world to realize their full potential. Apart from its external competition, Microsoft also promotes internal competition with the organization. Like many other successful companies, Microsoft sees this as an opportunity for employees to compete among themselves to come up with even better innovative ideas. In addition, as mentioned earlier, another factor that sets Microsoft apart from that of its competitors is that they provide private office spaces for their software developers in order to harness innovation and creativity, whereas work design layout for that of many other software companies is to have their entry-level developers work in cubicles. Microsoft software developers are considered stars in the organization. What also fosters innovation among employees is information right management for intellectual property protection customized to everyone's role in the organization. This protection of intellectual property is also extended to Microsoft's partners.
Now, Fidel, Bill Gates is famously associated with Microsoft. How would you describe the leadership style at Microsoft, and what influence would this have on Microsoft's culture?
Wow, well, you've asked a very, very wonderful question there. Microsoft is inextricably linked to Bill Gates. And Bill Gates, as an owner, had to ask himself three questions. The first question is, what work do I need to do? The second question is, what work do I delegate to others? And the third is, how do I get them to perform at the level I want them to perform at? So we have to look at Bill Gates in that context as the owner and manager of this company. But you also have to split the timeline, because there's Bill Gates, the entrepreneur, up until 2000, and then there's Bill Gates, the delegator. And we're going to discuss that a little bit. In that, when the company started, Bill Gates was, for lack of a better word, a control freak. He wanted to know everything, down to the last dollar that was leaving his company. He even used to sign the forms for minor transactions. He wanted to know all the details, and this followed through in all his work in that sort of perfectionist fashion. In 2000, Microsoft faced the Department of Justice in the United States and lost an antitrust lawsuit. And what flowed from that is that they were mandated to break the company in two. So Bill Gates was forced then to delegate work to other people. Now, for many people who had his attitude in terms of doing business and wanted control, this would have been a problem. Because the third question is, how do I get other people to work at the level I want them to work at? And his answer to that was to go and seek out what they termed to be the best employees on the market. And there's a distinction in that. Bill Gates assumed that the best would not apply to the business. They actually would seek out people who they thought were the best and offer them to come to the company. More than that, he created a culture around himself. So in other words, he looked for a specific bundle of skills in the people who were like him. So to answer the question of how he dealt with the second half of delegating, it is that he cloned himself inside of other people. So although Bill Gates is one man, and he was mandated by the court to break up the company, he was able to create different versions of himself into project managers for departments who have complete autonomy now, which is what they would want. So it was a win-win situation coming out